Hey guys, welcome back to another computer application tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to tackle the last question of the Prelim 2021 paper, and that is question 7. See you just now. Alright guys, so question 7 is a general question. A lot of different things have happened in the past in this question, so good thing to go through past papers and just get used to some of the questions that you might come across in this particular section of the paper. Alright, they want us to open the 7 prof budget, so let us go and get the file structure open. There it is. Double click and it's going to open for us. Okay, now it's saying that we need to work in the chart worksheet and create a graph or chart to appear as follows. Now, they don't give us much to go by, they just give us the chart, and then it says note, fill the Limpopo data bar with any pattern. As you can see, there's some kind of pattern going on there. They don't care what pattern you use, they say any pattern. Alright, so whenever we do something where we have to keep looking at the screenshot provided in the exam, we need to be very specific with what we do. We don't want to lose any marks, so always start right at the top of the screenshot. Look at things like this, like the heading, look at the direction the bars are going, look for anything special like this trend line. Be very meticulous when you go through this. Alright, so let us go into our Excel, and we are in our graph tab or sheet. I'm going to select all the data, and once I've selected the data, I'm going to go insert, and there's the one I'm looking for. Click on OK. Alright, so right off the bat, it's already starting to look good. As you can see, we did mention something about this title when we were looking in the exam paper. So let's go back and make sure we can get the right title. This is supposed to say province budget. As you can see there, province budget. Okay. Alright, so there we go, province budget. If you look at our exam, we don't have any labels on the sides or at the bottom, so let's get rid of that. I click on the plus, and here it's the axes we get rid of. Okay, now that the axes are out, we're going to keep going back and forward to our example and making sure we get everything right. Let us look at this trend line now. We want to try and get exactly the same trend line in the same shape. Please excuse the dog, I don't know what he's barking at. Alright, so over here we're in our graph. We are now going to go to trend lines. Click on the arrow to expose the menu where we can pick more, and we're going to just hover the mouse over these until we find one that it's the one we're looking for. So here it is, 2-period moving average. We click on it and it sets that one in for us. Alright, now if we have a look at ours, there's something missing here. The original in the exam has data labels. If we just go to data labels, we will see that it puts in a data label, but it's not quite what we're looking for. So let's go and have a look at the test again, and you'll see that these data labels have the name as well as the amount. So that is what we need to make sure we do. So under data labels, we're going to click on the arrow, and then we're going to see if we hover the mouse through here what we're going to get, and we're not going to come up with anything besides these balloons, but this is not what they wanted. So what we need to do is go to more options, and when that opens up, we need to make sure we say category name. So it's going to add the category name as well. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm going to close, and there we go. So we've got the category name as well as the amount. The only problem I'm seeing at the moment is that in the example, all the amounts are on their own line with the R for the rands in front of the amount, whereas our example isn't quite looking like that. So let me just take some time quickly to fix that. I'm going to just go in, click, not space, sorry, enter, next one, enter, and I'm just pushing enter so that my amount goes onto its own row by itself and that the category name stays at the top by itself. So it will look similar to the example. Alright, so there we go. Got them all looking exactly like the example. And then the last thing, remember this Limpopo data series was filled with a pattern, and the note said any pattern. So when I click on it the first time, which I did already, you'll see it selects all of them. So what I need to do to make sure I don't change all of them is click on it one more time, and then you'll see it stays selected and the rest all lose their selection. And when I've got that selected, I'm going to right click, say format data point. I'm looking at the fills, go to fill, and over here we're going to say pattern fill. I'm not going to waste my time looking for a specific pattern now, because they said any pattern and that is any pattern. So I'm happy to move on and not waste my time trying to make it look pretty. Alright guys, so there is my graph, and that looks similar to what the example in the test was asking me to do. So I'm happy with that, and I'm ready to move on to the next question. Right, so question 7.2 was a tricky one, but not too bad. If we read through it and break it up, it will make a lot of sense to you. So I've also prepared a PowerPoint presentation to kind of walk you through and show you my thinking and rationale behind it. Alright, so the province where an airline is located appears in column A, and the budget appears in column D. Insert a combination of functions in column E to display the following. Now, first of all, we don't know what functions they are, but hopefully from reading these criteria or these different bullets, we'll get an idea. Alright, so top, if an airline is located in Gauteng and the budget is more than 2 million. Normal, if an airline is not in Gauteng but the budget is more than 2 million. Average, if the budget is not more than 2 million but the airline is in Gauteng. An empty cell, if all conditions are false. Okay, so 4 bullets, and in every single bullet there's a key word that keeps saying if, and if. So by now you should already start thinking, okay, that's going to be an if, and because there's 4 things I need to test for, I'm going to have to do a nested if. Alright, so that is true. That is what we need to do. We need to create a nested if. It is for 6 marks, so try build it up, and if you don't get all of it right, leave the answer in there, and make sure that you can exit the formula so that whatever marks you could potentially get, you will get. Alright, so let's go to my PowerPoint presentation quickly so we can break this down for you. Alright, so there's the question, and if you notice it says top, if an airline is located in Gauteng and the budget is more than 2 million. And then it says normal if an airline is not in Gauteng. But there is a bullet, the next one, which says average if the budget is not more than 2 million but the airline is in Gauteng. So there's actually 2 bullets, and they're speaking about Gauteng. So I would have rearranged these bullets so that we would have had top if an airline is located in Gauteng and the budget is more than 2 million. Average if the budget is not more than 2 million but the airline is in Gauteng. So what we need to know by those two bullets is if it's in Gauteng, it's either going to be top or average. Then the last two bullets we've got is normal if an airline is not in Gauteng but the budget is more than 2 million, and then an empty if the cell conditions are both false. So if they're both false, it will end up being an empty cell. So if we have a look at the last two bullets, that means if it's not Gauteng, it's going to take a normal or be empty. Right, so this next slide allows me to reword the questions. So I've basically taken what I've just said to you and say if airline in Gauteng, it's going to be top or average. Whether it's top or average, that depends on the budget. So if the budget is above 2 million, then it'll be top. If it's not, it's going to be average. And then if airline's not in Gauteng, it's going to be normal or left blank. And again, those two depend again on whether or not the budget is greater than 2 million or not. Alright, so we know it's a nested if. We have 4 specific outcomes that we're going to get here: top, normal, average, and an empty cell. And because of those 4, we need to know 4 possible outcomes. We're going to need 3 if functions. So let's start with the first one. Here's the first if function. And basically what we're testing for in this one is if the province is Gauteng. Now again, when we do this test, we're going to get 2 answers, and the first one we're looking at is if the condition is true. So the top 2 bullets that we changed, okay? Now if the condition is true, it's either going to be top or it's going to be average. What we need to do now is decide, is it top or average, and we have to do that by looking at the budget. So if the budget is greater than 2 million, if that is true, we know it must say top. And if it's not true, it's still in Gauteng, so it's the other option, which is average. Now, if the first condition we did over here ended up being false, we still have to do the same test where we're testing the budget, because if the budget is true, if it is greater than 2 million, it means that we have a normal type for that particular airline. And if it's false, that means that this first one was false. There we go. And the second one was false. And they said if both conditions are false, then the cell must stay empty. Okay, so that is how we are going to structure our if nested ifs. Bear with me. If you need to come back to this part of the slide after the video, then do so. Make notes, write this down, or even pause it now, write it down so that when I'm typing it into Excel, you can follow along as well. Okay. Alright, so there we go. We've got that info. Let us go into our Excel. We are going to go into trying to click on the wrong screen. Airport, okay. Rating. So this is where we're going to start, and I'm going to start with that first condition we spoke about. Equals if, open my bracket, and I'm going to test whether or not this is equal to Gauteng. And if it is, we're going to do the true if it is. So if this particular one, I'm going to look now if the budget is going to be greater than 2 million. And remember, if the budget was greater, it would say top, and if the budget wasn't greater, it would still be an airline in Gauteng, making it average. Alright, so once that's done, I can close that if. Now remember, this is inside the true of the first one. So now I'm going to put a comma, and now I'm going to the false section of this first condition, which is what I spoke about, which came up on the right hand side of the presentation that I did. So now we're testing if that condition is false and it's not in Gauteng. Now we want to test to see if it's going to say normal or if it's going to be a blank cell. All right, but we still need to test the budget. So again, if the budget is greater than 2 million, if it is greater, it's going to be normal, and if it's not, it's going to be empty. So I just put the empty quotation marks to leave that cell empty, and I closed this if. Oh, what have I done here? Average. Okay. Average, comma. I don't know what happened there. Alright, so let's look through this quickly. We've got the first condition, comma, if D2 is greater, top, average, close it. So we're closing that if over there. Now we're moving on to whether the condition is false. There we go. If D2 is greater than that, normal, blank, okay. And then the last thing we need to close is the very first if that we started over there. Alright, so as you can see, this is blank, meaning that there's two conditions that are false. So the first one, that is not Gauteng, so that's the first false. And is this greater than 2 million? No, it's not. There's the second false, so it leaves it blank. When we copy that down, you'll see here it gives us a normal, meaning that the province is not Gauteng, but it is making more than 2 million. Alright guys, there are other ways of doing this. If you do want to see other ways, leave a comment and I'll come back to this question and give you other ways to do it, as well as using some AND logic within the if function. Alright, so let's go back to the question. And the last question, it says we need to work in the province total worksheet and use a spreadsheet feature to calculate the average budget cost for each province. Now, you might be thinking, why are they saying a spreadsheet feature to calculate the average when it just equals average? That would be true if we were trying to calculate the average of all the provinces together. But we want the cost of each province. So we need Excel to group them into the provinces, and after each grouping of province, it needs to show the average for that group. And so the feature that they're referring to in this question is the subtotal, which we have done, but let's have a look at this. Okay, so let us go to Excel. We're going to go to province totals. First thing we need to look at, because we are going to do it at each change in province, can you see we need to have it in alphabetical order, so they need to be grouped according to each province. And if I scroll through here, you'll see that it definitely is already alphabetized or put in order. Okay, so first thing we're going to do now is select all the data. So that's the 3 columns, starting at the very first heading right at the top, all the way down to the end of your data. And there we go. Okay, once that is done, I'm going to go and click on my data tab, and right at the end, at the outline section, there is a subtotal. I'm going to select that. Now it says at each change in, and at each change in province, the function they were asking for the average, and I want that to add the subtotal to the budget because it's the average budget. When I click on OK, it gets done for me. Just to show you a quick little summary, as you can see now, we've got the average for Eastern Cape, the average for the Free State, Gauteng, and so forth, and that is why the subtotal is so handy. Alright guys, remember these numbers, you can flick through them to have a look at all the different levels. This is the grand average. That's if you had just used average as a formula at the end. This is the number you would have gotten, but that's not what we wanted. We wanted it like this, each average per province. Alright, so that is the end of that. The exam is now done. We are finished. There was 150 marks in total. I really hope these videos are going to help you prepare for your finals, guys. Just keep working hard at it, and I will keep posting more videos to try and help you through. All right. Good luck. Bye bye for now.